Welcome to AI for GenX, a video podcast where we discover new topics about AI. My name is Marisa Wilson, and I'd like to take you along on my training journey. Each week, we'll discover new topics. As GenX, we've done this before, we've learned new technologies, and I'm excited to learn this next one with you. So grab the dog, head outside, and in 10-20 minutes, you'll be a little closer to understanding AI. Hi. Welcome back, and we are going to talk really quickly today just to get everybody up to speed on energy usage and your AI habits. The reason this started is I am currently up in Tahoe, and I'm on a mission to complete 100 hikes. It sounds cooler than it is. It's just walking around because there's nothing else to do. But in order to keep myself accountable, I post pictures of my hikes and, about 4 pictures of the hike on Facebook. And I started early on with this quirky, silly thing where I would go into Gemini and do the Nano Banana and say, put a bear on my picture. And I'm just like, it's so funny. I wanted to do it just because it was fun. But every time I did it, I was like, what does that mean? What am I doing? Like, it felt like I was eating the last cookie of the cookie jar. So I decided, well, I better just look into this a little bit. Mind you, what I'm feeling is, and maybe you're feeling this too, we were given a link and just a website to go to with a little chat bot that was very simple, and we could just start doing stuff to it. It didn't feel heavy. It didn't feel like we were going to the appliance store and picking out our energy usage, and looking at those big yellow signs. So we really don't know what we're doing when we're doing these things. And some of us, me included, are doing it to put little bears in our pictures. And, what does that even mean? So let me explain to you a little bit. Of course, this isn't going to stop me from maybe putting my bears, but it's only 100 hikes, so it's 100 bears. Okay. So a little bit of grace. If you read some of my articles before about the data centers, they're not just storage, right? They are actually compute hubs. And if you remember back in the day, we all had our little Commodore 64 or whatever computer, and all that stuff that we ever did, the very, very complicated WordPerfect or Word documents, all that compute happened on your machine, right? What we're doing now is sending it out to these data centers to do that. And all of us are doing that. And this stuff is not just making a little WordPerfect document. The other thing to keep in mind is that this isn't Google search, right? I like to think of it as a librarian. On a Google search, you're going to the library, you're saying, find me, information on this. And you send out your link and it goes and the little librarian looks up which websites equate to what you need, comes back with all the little books that you wanted. That's not what's happening with AI, right? What's happening with AI is you enter in your query, all the books, everything has been stored into its data. So what it does, it goes out there and writes that. So like if you wanted something about War and Peace, Google search is going to give you links to websites that have already done the compute to create the War and Peace, whatever that you're looking for. With AI, it is writing War and Peace. So if you're saying, what is the character in chapter 3? It writes the entire War and Peace to give you the chapter 3's character's name. So keep that in mind. It is not just handing you, it's not just data storage, it's actually doing a lot of stuff. They are using GPUs, and that's the graphical chips that are used in video games. So not the old school computer chips, the CPUs. And GPUs require a lot more energy and a lot hotter. So 43% of total power goes to the cooling of these racks. So it'd be like running the AC in your car full blast so you can listen to the radio. I just want you to picture what we're dealing with here. The projection is that data center usage, it's going to double to over 945 terawatt hours. That's a lot. That's roughly the entire electricity of Japan for me putting Nano Banana bears in my pictures. By 2030, my little guy is going to be graduating, and we'll be using more electricity for data than for manufacturing steel, aluminum, and cement combined. And, these data centers are going into our existing grid, and you can see my other articles about what that means, but it just worth paying attention to. Breaking it down, just so you know. A simple text query, don't stress too much. It's about a second of a microwave, using the microwave for a second. But now if you are deeply reasoning or having it do a deep think session, you want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, because that's like driving a semi truck to the grocery store to pick up a gallon of milk, right? For smaller tasks, my suggestion is go to a Google search. So how much does my bear cost? It's about the equivalent. It's about 1.2 watt hours. So it's about the equivalent of an LED bulb for 7 minutes. Respectful. But now I think back in the day when it first started, there was like 78 million people were making Studio Ghibli pictures of themselves. That's a lot of energy. If 78 million of us are doing that, it's just, it stacks on. Video generation is a big whopper. So if you do a little video generation, that's 950 watt hours, and that's like leaving the lights on for 4 days. And just to give you kind of a real-time perspective, you may have heard ChatGPT launches really cool video feature back 6 months ago. Huge fanfare. People could just prompt, make me fly with, I don't know, Bambi or something, and it would create really good videos. It's so much so that there was like immediately, wait a minute, how can they use my likeness and copyright, etc. And Disney even decided to, instead of fight it, try to partner with them. They were going to do a $1 billion partnership with them, and it was expected to be this like big thing. And just last week, they killed this tremendous tool because it's just too expensive. There was an estimate that was costing about 15 million at the height. It was costing $15 million a day of compute for this electricity, for this compute power to create these images. You know, less so when it became less popular, but in the entirety, they never made more than, I think, $2 million on it. So they were spending way much more to create these videos than they ever were going to get back. So last week they killed it. They said, nope, even though technically we can do this, we need that compute power to go towards things that are going to just benefit enterprises, be more cost efficient, which thankfully, like, they kind of pivoted, because that totally makes sense for me. So how can you use AI responsibly? Just the simple. Keep going to Google for simple facts. I get lazy sometimes and I'm within the AI and I want to do a quick question. But after doing this story, I'm like, well, if I'm going to put my bears in my pictures, I'm going to skip on out to Google search for simple queries. Yes, Google search is going to, the first portion of it does AI, and well, that's on them. At least I tried to do my part. And I'm sure this will change. I'm sure they're going to get more efficient, but at this moment, it is costing quite a bit. And we've covered this on other prompt articles, but if you're going to do your prompt, just try to be efficient. And remember that it goes back and reads everything, like it writes the War and Peace book. So every time, if you want to say, what's in chapter 4's character, it'll write the War and Peace character, look to see that chapter 3 character, and then give you the chapter 4. Understand that concept, that it is doing all of that compute. So be efficient with your prompts. Go ahead and ask it all of it in one. Yes, iterate, absolutely iterate, talk back to it. That's what it's meant to do. But maybe that's why you heard people say that it was costing them so much when people would say thank you. Because imagine you did this entire long query. At the end of the entire session, you said thank you, and then has to go back and write War and Peace again and do all that stuff just so that it can understand that you said thank you. There's also there's different compute electricity needs from the different models. We've talked about the different models. Within each one, you have ones that are a little bit deeper thinkers, like in Claude, it's Opus 4.5 or 6 right now at the moment. Those are going to take up more energy. So if it doesn't need to be deeper reasoning, go ahead and use the lighter models. It'll help both your usage. You'll get a lot more time if you're paying for the $20, you get a lot more time with the tool. And it also helps with energy consumption. And so that's it. I just wanted to let you understand that, this isn't just a thing that's going out into the clouds. It's actually creating a lot of energy. It's not going away. For sure, use it, but just understand what it's doing so that you can be a little bit more responsible for it, and also get curious, understand your energy needs in your local communities. What are they doing? In Nevada, they're creating this, like, I've heard, the world's largest data center, and I'm going to start looking into that just because I am curious what it's going to take. Um, Thanks again for joining me, and I would love any comments or questions or letting me know how you are using this